Hello and welcome everyone to episode 87 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaiju number 8, and many, many more. And this one's going to be rough. This is a rough one, y'all.
We knew it was coming.
Yep.
And yeah, it's as bad.
You wanted your backstory so bad? Here, take it.
Yep. Here's probably the most tragic backstory of all.
Yeah. And not only that, like, I mean, it's pretty much this whole episode.
I mean, pretty much outside like the first opening chapters. Yeah. So, and it's still not done.
Yeah, that's
real quick. Apologies for my voice. I'm a little croaky. Just getting over a bit of a sickness. So, I feel mostly fine. It's just that, the voice is affected, which I'm just happy to use for my job. No big deal.
No big deal. I feel like people have probably been listening to you on like YouTube videos and podcasts for long enough to know, like, okay, yeah, Derek sounds sick. He's all right. This is nothing new.
yeah, it happens on time to time. Whatever.
Yeah.
But well, let's get sad along with all of this, and start with chapter 391, "The Girl They Called a Demon." And
boy, speaking of catching colds.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm feeling that wolf. That wolf is all about it. I am that wolf.
Yeah. Even the penguin seems cold, which is funny.
Yeah. Although he's freaking out about something, like he's looking at something. It's like he's freaked out about Sanji, I want to say, but I was like, why is he freaked out about Sanji? Maybe it's the dish he's making, but I'm like, that seems pretty good for a penguin, so who knows?
Yeah, there's an octopus tentacle in there. I don't know how penguins feel about octopi, but
yeah, I'm not sure. The only one,
even the polar bear, and Luffy of both being cold is adorable.
But of course, Robin, nothing. She's all good.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say, oh, nothing gets to her. I was like, oh, that's not true.
Yeah, that's totally
not even true. Close to true. Not right now.
Nope. But into the chapter itself, we got our giant bros just wreaking havoc on the Marines, which feels so satisfying. Got the Oimo press. They're helping to guard the gate after Yokozuna did his best. And everybody's wondering, why are they siding with the pirates? It's almost like we lied to them or something weird.
Yeah. I just, there's something so hype about one of them saying, out of allegiance to the king of snipers, we're going to guard this gate. It's just like, they're so into the bit. It's oh God, I love them.
And I like this extra hope too, because we have the 3 Galley Law members rushing towards the scene as well. It's like, all right, you guys catch up with Mozu and Kiwi to the left and right. I'll take care of this weirdo in the center. Let's go break. And it's so good. And Luffy's getting updated about how the drawbridge needs to be brought down. It's like, oh yeah, you jumped the gun. It's like, oh all right, whatever. And all the while, of course, CP9 is like, impressive. They overcame the Aqua Laguna. But hey, we have the license to kill now. So much easier when we don't have to hold back. They're all calm, and Spanim's like, oh God, there's so many pirates. What's happening? Which is just sort of his MO.
Although this little monologue from here is so illuminating, where he's just like, the most important thing in my life or is my life and increasing my status.
Yeah.
So he wants, like, no, you pirates come here so that they can protect me.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. And he's just holding off. Like, he really shows to Robin, like, how little respect and how he has to the Buster Call, because he just starts waving around the golden transponder.
He feels like a little kid.
Yeah.
Or he's, it's like, I'm not touching you. He's just a pathetic little bastard man.
Yeah. And some part of me, like, when he decides to jump up on the wall and like yell at her basically from there, part of me just shove him in. Just shove him in. Who cares?
Yeah, Sanji's like, I feel like kicking him over a waterfall right now. But yeah.
Yes, Robin could do that, but sadly, CP9 would probably rescue him before he fell. He's just gloating in her face, is like, yes, this is the power that wiped out your homeland. The name O'Hara disappeared from maps the following year. And they're just like, what the heck? As you said, that's where that happens. And that's where she yells at him about, like, you know, why are you doing this? You're dumb. It's like, your reaction gives me a thrill. Should I activate it? Huh? And do you know what will happen? Like, does he know what will happen? Won't they just destroy this island? It feels like a bad idea.
Right. I mean, you're going to... It's like you would be calling a buster call on your home base, which seems a little odd.
Yeah.
I mean, especially just like the little sort of glimpses you see, like, you know, of like Robin's trauma, basically, you know, and sort of recalling what happened with the buster call. And, you know, you sort of see like, okay, there's an island on fire. Like, do you really want that to happen to Inia's lobby? Like,
we have her calling out for Saul when we see her young, and I like this, that how much this all means. It's like, you said O'Hara disappeared from the maps. Can you confirm the existence of people from maps? You people only see the world through such devices, which is why you can do such heinous things. You don't think about the people in each of these places. It's just, you know, the name.
And we'll certainly get to this as we kind of transition into the flashback. But like, God, I think such the running theme here between this flashback and like the one with Tom and Frankie and stuff, where it's just like the government is willing to do just horribly, you know, atrocious. They're willing to commit all sorts of atrocities, you know, in the so-called name of justice, or to, you know, to protect their interests, basically.
And we might have a clue to where that is, but that I completely forgot that was resurrected for this set of chapters.
Oh, what's that?
Well, a clue to why the government is so willing to just commit these atrocities.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I forgot about this. Oh my God. Well, we're still a ways away from that, but my God. But we learned that Robin originally came from the West Blue, which is where O'Hara was. For some reason, I was convinced that this was an island on the Grand Line, but no, it's
me too.
It's West Blue,
which makes some sense, as we'll get into, like, we first kind of see like Robin here, you know, like she's just, you know, like reading a book by herself, you know, as a little kid, and then, you know, there's a bunch of kids like, oh, you know, see over there, I found the monster, and, you know, they're throwing rocks at her and stuff, and then, you know, that's when you sort of see like, oh, they call her a monster because she already has her devil fruit and she's 8.
Yeah, she's basically as young as Luffy was when he got his devil fruit.
Yeah, and it makes sense, you know, I imagine, and this is kind of like a remote place not near the Grand Line, so, like, you probably don't see devil fruits that often, so you would see this and go like, oh yeah, like, that's a monster.
That's true, and, like, East Blue is the most peaceful, relatively, of the seas, and we only saw 3 devil fruits, well, 4 before we left. And 2 right before we left is when we actually saw them, so, yeah. Yep. It is not a common thing, so it does explain the whole monster thing for that whole aspect. And it just, oh God, you feel for her, because it's the like classic British telling of like orphans, where kids all on their own, all the adults are crappy, all the kids are crappy. She just wants to have a family like them, but nobody wants to give her that chance except for. Just the rarity, and just seeing her, like, you know, today is like, she goes to her aunt and like, it's my daughter's birthday. So the 3 of us are going out to dinner. You can have this bread. Don't eat too much jam, and make sure to do all these chores. So she sent Cinderella as well. And it's just like seeing her cry, like, this poor girl.
These pages are brutal, man. Like, and she's just like crying as she's, you know, mopping up the floor. It's just like, okay, yep, all right. This is already getting me to tear up.
Yeah, and then she goes to visit this central tree, which is just awesome as far as a place. The Tree of Knowledge in the O'Hara Library and Archaeological Research Center. And people are saying, she's coming, she's returning your books in your places. And that's when this Professor Clover and all the other archaeologists here do this big celebration that they like Robin. Congratulations. We have cake. That doctoral exam you passed with a perfect score. You're now an archaeologist yourself, which, man, that's impressive.
And just the raw contrast between like how her home life and, you know, how she's treated in her day-to-day versus, you know, like all of these archaeologists basically treat her like her daughter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
or like their daughter. So it's just like, Oh man,
Yeah,
she does. There is a place for her after all.
Thank goodness. And God, I love the Professor Clover's design.
Yeah, I for some reason thought he was younger. I don't know. Like, he's actually kind of cooler looking than I remember.
Like, it's a silly hairstyle, but his actual clothes are pretty stylish, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot a lot cooler of a character than I gave him credit for.
Yeah.
I'll say that much.
But we'll see what happens with this. We do have a little bit of an SBS though, where somebody was concerned about the receiver that Sanji crushed. That was part of it. I didn't even think about that.
I was too.
Actually, yeah, I guess you did mention it, but yeah, it was like, no, that's not part of the transponders now. Don't worry about that.
I'm glad he clarified that.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, Sanji wouldn't hurt an innocent animal.
No, he only cooks them.
Yeah.
Although it does remind me of, we never mentioned it during our talk about the TV show, the live action. I love how they expanded it, the transponder snails, to include like earpieces.
Yeah, it's great.
To get like Bluetooth or whatever. Oh God. As far as the other one, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Moving on.
Next up is chapter 392, Dureshi. I'm like, what the heck is that when I saw that title?
Yeah.
But we have the continuation of Bon Clay versus Hina, and
this is awesome.
It's not looking so good for Bon Clay, because she immediately uses her powers to put a latch on one of his legs. It's like, oh geez.
Yeah.
How do you fight her?
I don't know.
It's
just this whole part of the cover story has definitely just been, I don't know, Bon Clay continuing to be just one of the best.
Yeah, without a doubt. But we pick up and we continue with the party, where she's presented with her badge that certifies her as a scholar, and you must thoroughly understand what it means to be an archaeologist. And my God, Robin's so precious when she's
she looks so happy just holding that little medal. I'm all my heart.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I made sure to get when I visited Japan, the one time I visited Japan, I found a figure of just her smiling, holding a book, and I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, I need this figure. So yeah, that's still in good shape. I also got one of Luffy with him just as a kid holding up meat. I think they have one for each of them as kids, which I was like, I wish I could get all of them, but I got to go with the two favorites.
Yep.
But yeah, they sort of break down what it means to be an archaeologist in this world. Knowledge of the past, 5,000 years old. That's how old the Tree of Knowledge is. And in that time, countless documents have been sent here from all over the world, priceless artifacts of all of humanity. This library takes pride in storing the world's most important and most ancient knowledge. So under this Tree of Knowledge, fine archaeologists from every sea have gathered, and there's no historical mystery that can't be unraveled with the help of the documents here. Be proud and to be able to study archaeology in such a place. So I look forward to your continued research and contributions. And she immediately says, I want to unravel the void in history.
Whoa. No.
That is taboo.
Well, I love just like the adorable straightforwardness of Robin as a child here. You know, where she's just like, well, she wants to understand what happened during the 100 blank years. And, of course, Professor Clover's like, how do you know of that? And then, she's like, hey, you guys have been doing it.
Yep. You've been using your powers to peek into the basement. It's like, well, you'd find me out otherwise. So I want to be an archaeologist so I can join you. And I tried my hardest. And you feel like, oh, it's a kid's logic. It's so precious.
Yep, exactly.
And they're like, yeah, you are knowledgeable, but you're still a child, because if we were discovered, we're going to die. We will kill us. Also, just noticed the cat or the lion on the back of his shirt as he's telling her all this, and that's adorable.
Yes.
But yes, because since this became the law of the world 800 years ago, the reality is that countless scholars have lost their lives, as many as their stars in the sky, researching this void history. So we've gone too far. We can't turn back, and we don't want a kid to get caught up in this. So you are forbidden from returning to the library or the research center if you go near the basement again, which causes her to just cry and run off, which you feel for. But you understand as an adult why they're doing this.
Yeah. Now, so this is the tricky part of, I guess, like the format of this podcast, because is this the first time that we've heard them mention the void century of this like 100-year gap?
No, she has mentioned
okay.
it once before in she was talking about the void history specifically during the Skypiea arc.
Okay.
It just mentions here and there just that it was a 100-year gap, and that's the reason she was like researching the poneglyph and trying to find. Maybe it was a little bit during Alabasta as well.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just googling it to like when it came up first. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it was during Alabasta.
Yeah, because that was her goal that she was willing to work with Crocodile, in quotes, for, so she could find that out. But but we have not gotten anything more than just it's a lost time for some reason. We don't know that.
There are a lot of things like that where I'm just kind of like, because I'm kind of balancing my broad knowledge of One Piece as a series and sort of like all of the various little bits of lore and story elements. Like I'm trying to remember, like, wait, have we gotten to this yet, or have we not? So I was definitely reading. I was trying to remember what parts of this were new revelations and new information, and what isn't.
Yeah. And we get to meet Robin's mother, Olvia. I'm going to hate saying that name because I want to say Olivia so bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw the wanted poster first. I was like, is that a typo? Probably like, Japanese people writing in English and not always, those kind of mistakes happen. I'm like, oh no, her name is actually Olvia. Okay. Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, as she's sadly walking on the beach, trying to figure, unsure about what to do, she comes across a shipwrecked giant, and I love the scenes between these two.
They're just adorable, and I love that. So he wakes up and he sees Robin, and the first thing is that he roars at her, trying to intimidate her, and she's just not having it.
And he just it's like wah, and he's like, worms. And you see like, oh yeah, water.
Yeah.
And all he says is, I'm alive. I wonder if she's okay too. Is this place, there's our town near? Well, I wish I had drifted to an uninhabited island. So you stand there, but nothing exciting is going to happen because I hurt my leg. So I'm going to build a raft, and then I'll be gone soon. And the interactions between these two is so adorable because she's just like sort of one sentence, sort of just quietly observing him. And just like, first time you've seen a giant? Yep. Well, let me get one thing clear. Don't lump me in with the savages like the Elbaf. They're the most famous, so of course the world believes all giants are like them, but there are gentle giants too.
I sort of love that. I feel like every other time we've seen giants, like there's always this. I mean, like, yeah, they're basically Vikings, but like there's this element of like grandeur and just like, you see the way that like Luffy and Usopp see the giants that we've met so far, and it's just like, oh man, these guys are awesome. And then here's Saul just kind of like, oh no, don't let me in with those guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not a barbarian like them, and you can definitely tell he's not built like them either.
Yeah, although I guess that is something that even now that I didn't really wasn't super clear to me, is that there are giants who aren't from Elbaf.
Yes, I guess that is the implication here. So
yeah.
Anyway, he eventually asks her, like, okay, I know it's useless, but please don't tell anyone about me. Okay, that was too easy. I know it's impossible. No, I don't know anything. You're lying. Kids can't keep a secret. But I'm not interested in you. That's when we get where his name comes from. His laugh is Dereshi. I don't know how you do that.
I think it's like Dereshi or like something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it in the anime in a long time, but it's very weird. I mean, One Piece is full of weird laughs. I think this one might be the weirdest so far.
I think so.
To the point that even Robin is just kind of like, what? What are you saying?
And God, it's so precious. You just want to protect this girl when you see her laugh like that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, you should laugh more too. And it's like, anyway, my name is Saul. Jaguar D. Saul. D?
Oh!
Oh, hello,
Okay.
Will of D all of a sudden.
Yeah. And then that he says that every member of his family has that middle initial, which is also, but I mean,
Yeah. That's interesting. But that's all that's left at it. We get 2 panels on that. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right.
It's like, here, have a nibble of the carrot. That's it. That's all you got.
Constantly.
Oh my God. That's so interesting. But either way, he just says, "Hey, there'll be trouble if they find me. The people that are after me find me. So don't say anything." But 4 nights after the Giants' arrival, somebody else lands on the beach in a marine ship. But in that meantime, as well, is that Robin's been sneaking food for Saul, as little as it matters. But he appreciates the gesture because he's just been catching fish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he says I ate fish during the night. You just see like this giant like fish skeleton in front of him.
Thank God there are such big fish in the sea.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to starve.
Nope. He's just like, you sure have a lot of time on your hands, huh? Won't your family and friends get suspicious? I don't have any parents. Well, I do have my mother. She went out for work, and I don't remember what she looks like. I love the archaeologist, but they won't include me in their research. And the kids in town think I'm creepy. And he's like, "Oh, yeah. You have a power."
Yeah, it's just that little sequence of all of the heads sprouting up on Saul's arm. It's cute.
Mm-hmm. He's like, "Oh, I've been to the Grand Line. It's no big deal."
yeah. Which I think was what I was getting at earlier. Like, yeah, in the Grand Line, yeah, that's not that weird. But I guess all the way out here, it's just like, monster.
Yeah, exactly. And we get the core idea of Saul. When you're laughing, you can be happy. Because you're happy when you're happy, you laugh, right? So it follows that if you feel happy, if you laugh, you'll start to feel happy.
A light bulb just went off in my head, and I can't say why.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I can say why, but
I feel like this will come up. This will definitely come up later. Obviously,
yeah. One of those. If you know, you know.
Yeah. But out to sea, we get to meet director Spandine, the former director of CP9. And hell. So both of us had this confusion. We learned because we were talking before we started the podcast, where I was like, I could have swore we saw Spandam's father at some point. And he was like, and we both thought it was during the Tom backstory. But no, it's during Robin's.
Yeah, I completely forgot that this character was here.
And
I guess it makes sense because it's about like the same time frame too, because that was 22 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
The Tom one. Yeah. So I guess I just conflated them in my brain.
I just had this idea of like Spandam just growing up and then finding out about this, but no, this was happening basically concurrently, a little bit before we actually meet Spandam as a CP4 director.
Yeah.
So. Very, very interesting that they're both full grown and both pieces of crap. So,
yep.
Oh boy, but either way, we end off with like, oh great, the Navy's here, as like scholars are starting to try to find ways to protect things just in case, and Robin's learning to laugh with Dereshi.
Which is stop it.
Right? It's not fair. All right, well, let's get to chapter 393. Olvia. And hey, while Bon Clay and Hina are fighting, he still hasn't gotten fully captured yet. Mr. 5 and Miss Golden Week grab Miss Valentine off the rope, and they're out of here. It looks like they exploded it off based on the smoking rubble.
Yeah. I mean, Bon Clay being a distraction for his friends twice. That's just a stand-up individual.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if
I'll be the decoy.
I don't think I want that angle on Mr. 5 though.
Yeah, I forgot he was wearing the shorts. Oh Lord.
Oh dear. But we'll have to see how that rescue continues to go. In the meantime, Saul has finally finished his raft. He's ready to head out, and Robin's sad because you're going already, and he's like, that's right. I was going to put up a flag, so I'll stay a little bit longer, and that makes her happy. It's like, she has a friend.
Yeah.
And this is where he learns, like, you want to go out to sea too, Robin? It's like, well, my mother is very busy with her research, but someday when she returns to the island, I'm going to ask her to take me with her. So that's why I studied to become an archaeologist. And that just sort of impresses Saul. She's like, you don't remember what she looks like? No, but she's my mother. I wish I could see her. And that's when Robin brings up the 100-year blank as well. She's like,
still a kid.
Yep. There's a 100-year blank in the history of the world that no one knows anything about. Oh, the void. That's interesting that Saul knows about that too. I'm sort of curious, but the government forbids checking into it. Well, I heard that my mom was going around the world trying to find out about it, so don't tell this to anyone, but because it's actually against the law. And that's when something
you see
clicks.
That face. Yeah, Saul's like, oh no.
Does that mean she's going around looking for the poneglyphs? But you know about poneglyphs? Wait a second. You must never talk about poneglyphs in front of others, especially that your mother is searching for it. What's your mother's name? Olvia? Ah, crap.
Yeah, just the way that he just like arms flayed just falls back. He's just like, Robin is Olvia's daughter.
And it's like, is this island O'Hara? Oh God, I washed up on O'Hara.
Which is funny. He didn't know this whole time.
We didn't leave this spot, so how would you know?
That's true.
He doesn't have a view of the tree.
Yeah,
he was passed
that's
out.
a good point.
He was passed out when he washed up, and he's been on this spot, not in view of the tree, the entire time. So, oh boy, and I think I remember some aspects of this that we haven't read yet with the next set of chapters, but I'm going to leave it for that moment there because something finally clicked with me on us going back through these pages. But I'll give it, but it's better for next time where it's probably going to be fully revealed. But either way, the big problem here is that a Navy battleship is headed to O'Hara to eradicate the scholars. So never tell those government people that you're a scholar. He's like, no, she's like, you're lying. And like, no, I would not lie to you. This is true. So run back to town and make sure there's nothing strange going on. And hey, maybe your mother's returned here too, which,
Yeah.
And that's when
lo and behold.
lo and behold, we actually get to meet Olvia. And you want to talk about some drip.
Yeah, no, seriously. It runs in the family.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I like how Olvia is basically just an older Robin, except with, I think, blonde hair we'll go with.
I think it's white.
White, yeah.
If I remember, yeah, it's been a while.
Something like that, but it's still a cool look. And yeah. Oh man, she's just concerned. It's like I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but yeah, they're here to wipe us out. Even the investigative team that went to sea 6 years ago that she was part of, all 33 members except herself died. She was captured by the Navy, and after going through every piece of her murdered comrades' belongings, the government was able to conclude that we were from O'Hara.
I mean, I guess it's an interesting thing that I don't know, probably not a translation thing, or just the way that she words it, that they everybody except herself died when it's the Navy killed them. Yeah, the government killed them.
Yeah, the government outright killed them all. She's basically like, I'm so sorry that we got caught and you guys are going to be put in danger because of us. It's like, no. Clover's like, you're the one that went through hell, basically.
Yep.
Which
I feel like this whole situation is just like, what the hell is happening that like the government would go this far? Like, what are they trying to hide?
That is a good question, because it seems like a lot to go through to just hide that 100-year gap. And yeah, it's basically like, okay, so we're finally considered a threat by the government. It's like, well, they probably think they have us by the tail because we've been researching this for a long time and they finally got a hold of information. So like, hey, all you scholars, you got to leave because we're not going to be able to evade the investigation this time around. They intend to kill us. But all of them are stubborn because
they're like, no, we're going to die with this information.
Yeah, like these artifacts of humanity, like we can't leave these behind. We've got to safeguard them. So yeah, so we're going to stick around. And she's like, by the way, shouldn't you go see your daughter? And she's like, I have no right to see her. And you can tell the pain of her not wanting to leave the 2-year-old Robin. And I got to say, as cute as 8-year-old Robin is, I don't know if I can say the same about 2-year-old Robin. That head is huge.
Yeah. Huge head, tiny little neck. It's very, very exaggerated. But
yeah.
That's one piece for you.
Mm-hmm. It looks like even her husband got caught at some point and killed by this because they're like, we'll fulfill your husband's wishes. And like, no, I'm a scholar of O'Hara. I cannot abandon the will of those who came before me. So she's like,
but I can abandon my child.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, great. And this is when the sort of abuse begins. Like, if you don't stop crying, I'll spank you. It's like, hey, she's only 2. Well, so is our child. I don't care if she's your older sister's daughter or whatever. How could you take her in? She's just like,
yep. So like, there's the
aunt and uncle.
Crappy aunt and uncle.
Yep. And that's when she comes across Clover and is like, yes, like the world's best library. You like books? How about you read all of these? And she, having her check out all these and basically showing how Clover basically raised her. Let's be honest.
Yep. Yeah. You really see where Olvia's coming from here, where, like she basically abandoned her daughter because, like I've crossed the line. So I don't I can't make her the child of a criminal, which I mean, she becomes a pirate anyway, so it's a little bit ironic.
Well,
but
I don't know if she's fully a pirate in this. It's just, she's just wanted by the government. It just
or it just mean more of like, I don't want my child to become a criminal.
Yeah.
But
oh boy, and now it's not just a marine ship that's coming here. It's a world government ship. So it's like, oh, this is not going to end well. And Olvius heads out basically like, I'm going to try to protect you guys no matter what. So she heads out with a gun while Spandine lands with all these other government forces. And basically like, all right, I hope this mission gets me a promotion and round up everyone who calls himself a scholar. It's like,
wow.
It's like just right off the bat, you know exactly what this guy is. He's just like his son. And then we get another tragedy where Robin's running towards it. Alvia's running away from it, and they pass each other by, and they have no idea.
No.
And Saul, in the meantime, is just like, I'm so sorry, Robin.
Yep. Oh. And as things weren't already going from bad to worse.
We get to meet, in quotes, Vice Admiral Cruzon. Turns out, as we learned before, that when you become an admiral, because when you reach the rank of admiral, you get that name of one of the admirals. So before Aokiji became Aokiji, he was Cruzon, vice admiral. So still the same though. Loves to sleep.
Yep, he just had to wake me up.
Oh God, you could just you know how this ends, so you can see the tragedy coming a mile away, and
you
sucks.
You already know based on prior interactions of Kuzan has already alluded to like, oh yeah, like we met, mm-hmm. we have some history. Just like oh no,
oh yeah, oh boy, and yep. Chapter 394, The Demons of Ohara, and God, I love this spread.
I was gonna say I really want to see
gorgeous.
this spread in color. It's just seeing the light come through between the trees, just the sense of adventure. It almost feels like this could be like a Skypiea.
It really could
color spread. Yeah,
you can almost see this artwork featured in like a theme park. Like you go to Disney and like this is this themed ride, and here's the artwork sort of matching along with it as we're all going on an adventure, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
good stuff. But time for more sad stuff. And Robin arriving at the Tree of Knowledge, and it's like, hey, was my mother here? And they're like, oh God, how'd she know? Like, no.
Yeah.
She's no way she'd be here. And it's like, all right, fine. But why the sudden outburst? It's like, oh yeah, terrible news. The Navy warships are headed towards the island. They're coming to arrest all the scholars. It's like, is that a rumor in town? It's like, how do you know this? But we kind of already know even so. But never reveal the fact that you're an archaeologist, because even if the government agents come here, you are young, so nobody's going to suspect you to be one. So do not tell them you're a scholar. And that's when the government rushes in and takes them all and arrests them all. So lovely.
Yep. I was going to say, there's definitely a running theme here of just like, all right, Robin, you have to keep the secret.
Yeah, Robin, keep this secret. Robin, keep this secret. Robin, keep this secret.
You're 8 years old,
Oh, this poor girl. No wonder she ended the way she was with just how many secrets she's had to keep. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it's the government people arrive, and he's just calmly saying, hey, don't be rough. There's important documents here. They're more valuable than you realize. It's like, we don't have to listen to you. Take them out. And they're just like, oh, great.
It's just like, of course. Yep. Just waving around their power.
Yep. And townspeople, the archaeologists of this island are actually demons who desire the destruction of the world. That is what we suspect. But they are regarded as brilliant scholars. People are like, wait, they're the prides of the islands. They're renowned around the world. So what's going on with that? Anyway, this island will be subject to an exhaustive investigation. Those with no connection will need to bring proof of identification to the west coast and board the evacuation vessel. You're being kicked out.
Yeah, basically, they're like, all right, everybody out.
Yep. And they're like, so why is it necessary for us to be left behind? It's like, if you ignore this warning and suffer the consequences later, it's none of our concern. It's like, oh, they're going to kill us. Brutal. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. They're just kind of straight up an ultimatum, get out or die.
And then we get the panel that confirms that Spandine is absolutely Spandam's father, because he gets shot.
Yep.
and is like, I've been shot. It's over. I'm a goner. Curses. Send a message to my superiors that my son should fill my position as director. And it's like, the bullet only went through your jacket sleeve. Oh, right. Oh, well.
That makes me wonder what happened to if he was that quick to be like, all right, get my should anything happen to me, get my son in. Like, what actually happened to?
I can almost see Spandam killing his own father.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. It just seems the type. That's all you need. It's just that cowardly act immediately into, I have the upper hand here because you're the heinous criminal. I didn't expect to find you here. And, this is my chance for promotions and being seen as greater. So, whatever. So, it doesn't, it's like, because you might think you have all kinds of excuses to prove no connection to O'Hara, but we have the connection. So, we're going to search every inch of this island and find proof of poneglyph research. So, we're positive of that.
It's interesting that they kind of from the jump were like, every time that we caught people looking for the poneglyph, we always searched for a link with O'Hara, where it's like they kind of had a sneaking suspicion that, and it seems like, they were kind of like, we're Ovia's like, you were trying to make an example out of us. So it's like, you were, they're basically, like trying to prove what will happen if you try to research the void.
Yeah. Do this and you will end up like this. So sheesh. She knows a lot, and she's like, wow, you know a lot, but excuse me. But, as a formality, we must confirm the guilt. And that, we're not pirates. That's why we came all the way out here, to conduct the search and chase anyone's involved. That's my mission. So get her.
Which
and then,
is, I think, fairly illuminating, where they're just like, we're not pirates, but, like, the only difference is that is that we have to go through the formality.
Right. And then, as a reader, like somebody considers himself like very much a writer and loves books, to seeing them manhandle that information is just like,
this is a 5,000-year-old library, man.
Yeah,
which I think might be like the furthest back in terms of time we've seen anything in the story up to this point.
I think so.
I'm already forgetting, like, some of the Skypiea stuff was also pretty far back, but I
forget the exact number of the Skypiea stuff. I'm positive somebody has a timeline.
Oh, absolutely.
There is no way. There's not a
absolutely.
This happened there.
I mean, I got thrown off by them using a different calendar system during the like the Jaya flashback and stuff. Yeah, in Skypiea. So I was like, wait, when the hell are we?
Yep. Oh boy. And the warships are already within sight. The scholars are being arrested. People are panicking to try to get out, and all the while, it's like, hey, the Clover's just like, hey, Robin, get on the evacuation ship. She's like, no, there's not going to be anybody nice on that ship anyway. I'm staying here with you. It's like, Robin, it's like, go. It's like, no, I like you people. So, just feel bad for her because she's right. There is nobody nice. And it's like, why would you, as a child, abandon the people that are kind to you to this type of fate? And that's when Spandine shows up and drops off the beaten up body of Alvia. It's like, I was nearly killed. Such frightening monsters. In this
I guess he was shot.
I guess.
So he's not technically wrong, but
should have gone for the head.
Yeah, no, seriously.
But yeah, this one's an escapee. The rest of her group was executed the other day for the crime of deciphering the ancient writings. If you admit that you're connected with this woman, things will go much faster. And Rama's just like, how cruel to treat a woman like that. It's like, oh no. And that's when Alvia realizes who she is, like hearing her name.
Well, yeah. Clover says, Robin, go to the evacuation ship, and then she's like, Robin. Oh, and then just like that smile, she's tearing up, seeing her child again for the first time in 6 years.
From 2 to 8, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
And that's when there's an explosion, and the scholars are freaking out. They're just
5,000 years.
Yep. And that's when they say, like, we found it. There's an underground chamber. Discovered a large stone believed to be the poneglyph and research material that is definitely related to the ancient writings. And that's when, of course, we get the evil look of Spandine, just like that dark shadows. Your death penalty has been confirmed. And now my job is done. All that's left is report to the five elders. And Robin's just like, wait, they're not actually going to kill everybody, right? Just for reading the ancient writings? Why?
This is some interesting dialogue here.
Yeah. It's like, you stupid child. Their ultimate objective was to create a powerful weapon based on their research. Multitudes would be killed. It's like, no, nobody's planning on anything like that. And that's when Clover comes out and says, is what the government fears really the weapon itself? Before we are killed, let us speak to the five elders. After many years of research conducted, our goal is still unfulfilled, but let us report our hypothesis about the 100-year void. And that's where we stop.
I mean, what else does an archaeologist do but report their findings?
Exactly.
So it only makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Clover's One Piece theory YouTube channel, because that's what we're about to get.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good stuff there. We do have another SBS that I think kind of goes into the puns of Zoro's techniques, but not they don't really even explain it in there. It's just like, there's this is where they go from, and it's like, okay, I don't fully understand, but whatever. It's another pun.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, our final chapter for this set, 395, O'Hara versus the world government. And, well, at least these three have escaped thanks to Miss Golden Week's Betrayal Black, where they take over the ship. So,
yeah, I was gonna say they took Hina's ship. So is Hina stranded there?
Yeah, and so is Mr. 2 and Mr. 3. So.
Oh man. Oh well.
Yeah. Who knows how that's all gonna go? But these three got away at least. So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
But the warships are confirming that they're still on standby, and the people are still panicking as they're running away and trying to get to the evacuation ship. And all the while, the government officials find the poneglyph.
Which here's we get something interesting.
Yeah. No matter what they try, blasting it or whatever, it won't make a mark. They cannot destroy it. And
they're indestructible.
Indestructible. They cannot, and they're scattered all over the world. And Saul has finally been spurred into action. It's just like, why didn't I know? Just saying, why didn't I notice it sooner? And it freaks out the people. It's like, oh God, it's a giant.
Yeah, as if everything else wasn't already happening.
Yeah. Man. All apparently we're talking to the five elders where they're like, it's as we suspected. So execution. What an unfortunate outcome. They broke the law of the world, and we cannot look the other way. It's like Clover just sees right there. Enough of the false pity. You're not fooling us.
Yeah. This is where I was like, oh man, like Clover's actually like kind of goated.
Yeah, badass here.
He's a badass.
Like, I don't have to put up with this crap. I'm on tenure.
Yeah. Too true.
It's like, we know your name. You've contributed much to the cultures of the world. To think you would go astray, how sad. It's like, this fault. Yeah, that's all you need to hear is like, these people are just the worst still.
Yep.
Reading the poneglyph makes possible the revival of ancient weapons, and it poses a danger to the world. Even if you don't have evil intent, others may come along who intend to take advantage of what you've learned. And it's the same
that might be the most sensible thing that they've said this whole time.
But it also goes back to what Tom said. It's all about the people, not the object itself. And
exactly.
It's that same sort of connection. That it's interesting that Frankie and Robin are sort of bonding in a way.
Their backstories are kind of eerily similar.
Yeah, very much so. And Clover's just like, no, whatever lies in the past, if it is part of the history of humanity, then it should be accepted. We have to confront everything that happened without fear, and we'll never be able to counter anything that way otherwise. Which, that bears, that stands up today.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you don't think One Piece is a political story, you can listen to the words that you are reading right now.
Yeah, this is just sort of like, boring, bang. There's fighty stuff.
Yeah. It's just like, no, like this is all about the control of information, and then the like history is written by the winners, and that's kind of what the world government is right now, as we're about to see.
Yeah, because Clover's like, why did the people of the past resort to writing on the stone in order to convey a message to the future? They dotted the world with these unbreakable stone tablets, which they carved their history. Isn't this because they felt that their message would be eradicated if left only to paper and books, which we're kind of seeing demonstrated right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, this is the proof the people who left the poneglyph behind had an enemy.
And
And
just that shot of the elders in shadow where they're just like, what are you implying?
Yes. If we assume that these people were annihilated by their enemy, then this enemy survived through the subsequent history. And coincidentally, the 100-year void ended 800 years ago, which marks the birth of the world government.
Here we go.
Yeah, if the government happened to be the enemy of the people who were annihilated, we can conclude that the 100-year void contains a history that was inconvenient to the world government and hence was erased. So after reading the ancient manuscripts and the few poneglyphs that have been found, we've gradually discovered the existence of a nation of which no trace now remains. So what is clear is the existence of an immense kingdom. Holy hell!
Yeah, there we go.
I forgot about this, that
yeah.
the government was like the victors of this whatever war and immediately set about to erase their past.
Yeah, that's God. And that's, it goes without saying that the Void Century is the most, like, one of the most interesting aspects of like One Piece lore, because it is just like an entire time period that like we don't know really what happened. We have a whole lot of little breadcrumbs here and there, but what's clear is that it is like the entire system on which the world currently works is based on like whatever the results of the void were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is convenient to the people in power that nobody knows and nobody is allowed to find out what happened.
This likely shows why the government comes across as extremely corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh boy.
Oh boy, that is fascinating.
Yep.
It just really is. And Clover says, without a doubt, the so-called ancient weapons could destroy the world. However, more importantly, the history will reveal the very existence and idea of this kingdom is in fact what the world government finds so threatening. And they're like, yeah, kill him.
Yeah, which that to me says, okay, he's right.
Yep, that's pretty much a right.
He's right. He got it. Yep. Oh, got it in one.
Yep. O'Hara's learned too much and attack.
Well, the thing to me, God, that it's even, where Clover says we don't know the nature of this threat, but the key is the ancient kingdom that once thrived, or the key is this ancient kingdom that once thrived, and its name was, and then he's cut off and killed.
Yeah.
So, I still don't think we know what the name is.
I don't know. I know I've never heard it.
Yeah, there's so many fascinating little like just wrinkles into the One Piece world, and I can't help but think that this arc in particular is like, this is where it all blows up. This is where the lore just like the well goes way deeper than you thought it did, and I think to an extent that applies to Skypiea too, but like that felt kind of like you're learning bits of like kind of almost like the pure unvarnished truth of what happened. And then here is like Water 7 and India's Lobby is like, okay, now here's what the people in power are doing to maintain the status quo. And so the fact that we've gone from like learning about the ancient weapons in Alabasta to now like, okay, now like here's what we're really trying to, the ancient weapons are a front, basically. It feels like.
I mean, Spandam still fully believes in them. Like he wants the ancient weapons for himself. But...
Yeah, and it seems like they are dangerous and that they are possibly involved with like whatever happened. But it seems like it's almost like a convenient excuse.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that's the case. And basically, Clover saying all that, to my knowledge, seems to seal the fates of everybody on the island. Like, am I wrong in saying that they're killing even the evacuees now?
I
not
think so.
100% sure on that, but that's the feeling I got.
Here, I think that's on the you got the 5 elders on the transponders now saying, "Don't leave a single soul alive."
Yeah, that's where I get it. It's like, it's time.
Yeah, they're done here. Which what like this is the lengths that they'll go to, and then here you go, Spandine, pushes the button, there's the Buster call.
Yep.
Where it's just like, all right, nuke it.
and like, oh god, he pushed it, and we got the silver transponder snail that is receiving line. Like, it's the Buster call, let's do this. And like the fact that so many men can just go along with this crap, they just buy into the word of the government, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Not to be that person, but the world government is a fascist entity. Like it just is, right?
Oh,
like
that's absolutely
that's
is.
what Oda's getting at is like,
Yeah.
this is fascism. This is about like the control of information,
Yep.
like this is, and I think what you're seeing is like I think that's why like the pirates are so, or like they're so diametrically opposed to the pirates, because they represent like freedom in kind of every sense of the word.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is like the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So
but they
like
also
make of that
a
if you
convenient
will.
excuse for people to band together.
Yeah. Like I feel like
different countries, because I don't think Alabaster would be okay with this. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because they, like, the poneglyph was a very important thing for like the Nefeltari family to like protect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
and so there's yeah, and God, there's so many different like aspects and facets to this that like the lore, I think, has been just opened up. This is like, all right, the possibilities feel endless here almost, and we're only going to get more and more of this stuff as the series goes on. And this is like, yeah, God, to me, this is the moment where everything feels suddenly so much bigger, and the history of this world feels so much more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It shows why Robin's so important.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But there's a fire at the library. They're desperately trying to put it out to save the books. Spandine's like, all right, there's more information that Alvia still knows. We can't have her die here, so bring her with me. And that's when, like, all right, Robin, get out of here.
Oh no.
And that's when Robin's like, is that you, mother? We're back to it again where she's crying. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Robin. I can't acknowledge you. It's very different from the Belmare situation.
It reminded me of it, but it is kind of a different twist on it.
Mm-hmm. Like, I want to acknowledge you, but I can't because you will be hurt.
Yep.
And yeah, just all the memories about just how she's been abused by her aunt, and just all of it, crying, all the stuff that she's went through, and she's like, "Are you my mother?" And Spandine is like, "You have a kid?" It's like, "No, I'm sorry, I don't. I think you're mistaking me for somebody else." And it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's when she blurts out, "I'm Robin. I've grown some, but don't you remember me? I've waited all this time for you to come home. I'd hoped that we could hold hands and walk together." And it's just like,
and then here's the zinger.
I studied really hard to become an archaeologist. I can read the poneglyph too. So please let me stay with you. And please don't leave me alone. And that's when Spandine takes interest in her, and the Buster call commences, and you could just see all the firings on there. It's just
my heart sank, dude. It's Robin trying to reach out and be acknowledged by her mother and be acknowledged by somebody, just like juxtaposed against you're watching this 5,000-year-old, like, this is the Library of Alexandria burning down is what this is.
It
like,
exactly is.
It hurts. I think one thing I realized during this flashback is that, like, so many One Piece character flashbacks, I feel like, are about, like, a character trying, like, having to deny who they are, and, like, trying to live as themselves, I guess, trying to learn to live as themselves.
Yes.
Like, I think about how in the like the Frankie and Tom flashback, and I keep calling it that. Iceberg was there too.
Right.
Frankie's flashback. Yeah, where like with Frankie's ships and all of that, and Frankie's just like, I wish I never made those things, and Tom like smacks him upside the head and is just like, don't deny who you are or the things that you made. And it feels like this is like Robin being unable to kind of hide who she is, and like was going to suffer the consequences for that. And you think about that with Nami and Belmare too, where it's just like I have Nami saying, "I wish you weren't a family," but so
yeah, it's a very tight-in thing, or wishing to help and having this mentor that's willing to do anything to help them, like in the same way as Zeph or with Chopper.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that gets me about One Piece flashbacks being like they're all structured similarly, but they're not repetitive or formulaic, which is an incredible needle to thread.
Other than they're incredibly tragic. That's our formula.
Yeah, they're tragic, but like they're not tragic in a repetitive way. It's
to this date, the one with the least tragic backstory is, as far as I know, still Usopp.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. I thought you were going to say Zoro because of the whole stupid she fell down some stairs thing.
I mean, that's dumb, but that's still tragic.
Yeah, he lost a friend. That is true. Well, yeah, I guess Usopp's is like your dad left to become a pirate. And it's like, oh no, he's living it up. He's having a great time. I mean, I guess he watched his mom die, but yeah, no, they're all sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. This, I guess we might wrap this one up next week. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah, so just to put it all out there, we're very late in recording this episode, so I'll do my best to get it up as soon as possible and have one for next week, or we might be a week behind at this point. It's hard to say. This might be a quick and dirty one, just so we can have it out on time. So we'll see how that all ends up. But man, ready for even more sadness next week. That's for sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is my favorite One Piece flashback, which calling something so freaking sad your favorite seems a little weird, but like it's the one that always hit me the most, and I haven't read it in a while, and it is just like, oh no, I'm crying badly tears. Like, we're only halfway through it.
Yep. Oh gosh, and I don't remember fully what happens. I just remember the broad strokes. So this is gonna be rough.
Oh boy.
But yeah, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 391 to 395 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And I guess this will be old news by this point, but I will be a guest on the One Piece podcast that will be releasing on October 9th. So a few days from now, but we'll probably be like a week or so.
Like I said, I might just edit out a few things and keep it quick and dirty.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel, whether I feel like we've stumbled over too much. But either way,
well, I guess serendipitously, then, if this does come out on time, if you're listening to this, like if you're not a patron, which you should be, I think that would be coming out on the same day.
Yes,
so
I believe so.
If you want back to back, Brandon Bovia talking about One Piece at various points in time, back to back Bovia. Well, we will of course be covering the manga. I think they do like they record like the evening a new chapter comes out. So basically, I would avoid podcast unless you're caught up, but. If you're caught up and want to hear me talk about some of the newer One Piece content, then by all means I'll be on there. And
fast forwarding almost 700 chapters.
Yeah, you want to see how I feel about current events, which is very positively.
Yeah, it just reminds me how like comments in our last one talking about Luffy's Gear 2. People were pointing out that the point that Luffy finally got his first transformation is like in terms of like Dragon Ball. That's when Gohan and Goku were training to fight Cell. That's just how late it took for anything like this to have, like it just shows the scale of One Piece, where it feels like we've barely scratched the surface, and it's still going. Like it makes sense that this is so long, unlike Detective Conan, which is so long. It's like, God, how many times was it? There must be so many murderers in Japan.
Yeah, every week a new murder mystery.
Yeah,
that is definitely like, and that is I think one of One Piece's like greatest strengths in storytelling, right? Like Oda plays the long game in almost everything. He is an incredibly patient storyteller, and I don't think you get that without confidence. And I think I talked a lot about this episode about how it feels like this is the part where like One Piece's sort of world building really blows up in scale, and I think that's something that you can do only when like you kind of what you want to introduce and when. And I think the things that we learned today on this episode of the podcast, like, it was very deliberately like placed, like this is the right time to learn this information, and that's what makes One Piece so addicting, man. That's why like after even almost 1100 chapters, it's so like we're always getting fed new breadcrumbs either about like the characters or like the broader world or whatever story arc we're on. There's always something new happening, and it almost always connects back to something else in some cool way. So yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
That's my speech.
So yeah, definitely, if you can, check out the podcast with Brandon. Otherwise, I'm sure it'll be available afterwards as well, so you can check it out. If we're a little late getting to this, we'll find out how this all ends up. But if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 396 to 400 of One Piece. 400. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Dadashi? What does that mean?
It don't mean a darn thing.